that, I'm going to go ahead and two housekeeping reminders. We got the snacks and coffee in the back. Bathrooms are going to be in the back corner to the left as I see them. And then I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Meisei. Woo! Panelists. I love it. How's everyone doing? Great. Is lunch good? Yes. The panelists are really good. I'm really excited to be here and helping out with the first panel of the day. I'd like to bring up Magaña, our CEO. I'd also like to bring up Jenny, who's been doing so much work. So for our first panel, we're going to be giving you a behind the scenes and a little bit of the purpose and reasoning for the Latino Climate Justice Framework. This has been an extraordinary process the whole team has been working on, and just really excited and proud to see it. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, there's plenty of copies back in the back, as well as it's a great read if you have long travels home. I know I'm going to be reading it on the plane, so definitely take a copy. And I'm going to start off with some questions for Mark, just to give us a little bit of background on. Oh, you guys see better? Okay, sorry, I was in the way. Okay, so to kick off questions, Mark, could you share with us the origins and purpose of the LCJF?
Hello. Buenos dias, everyone. Good to see you. I hope you're enjoying your lunch. For those of you who were there last night, I hope you enjoyed GreenLatinos Live Award celebration.
Yep.
And we're still able to get some sleep, and I appreciate that you made it here this morning. My name is Mark Magaña. I'm the founding president and CEO of GreenLatinos. GreenLatinos is a nationwide network of Latino, Latina, environmental conservation, climate justice advocates. We come together to fight dirty air, environmental injustices in our communities, to support each other. We are a convener, we are a resource intermediary, and we're an advocacy trainer and coordinator so that we can build power in our community, get more seats to the table, and make the changes that we need in our communities to be able to heal in time for the next generation and the generation after that to have a positive future. For me, we started seeing or hearing a lot about progressive climate solutions when the Green New Deal came out, and started seeing different people come up with different ideas about what we need to do to be able to solve the climate crisis, but from a progressive lens, a progressive framework. And what I wasn't seeing in those solutions was I wasn't seeing our community's needs being presented. I didn't see presented issues on language access. I didn't see issues being presented on climate migration. I didn't see issues being presented on outdoor workers and farm workers. And so I wasn't seeing our community being presented in those documents, and they were getting a lot of attention. And so I thought, why don't we have Nuestro New Deal? Why don't we have something where our community sees itself, and when our communities are deciding that they want to create a climate solution, we can pull this up. The second hefty volume, let me pull it to the front page. The second hefty volume, and thumb through it and say, oh, okay, you are working on urban heat islands. Well, this is what I want to make sure I see in your product. Oh, you are going to be working on public investment and subsidies in technologies like CCS. Well, here's my concerns when you do that. It may sound like a good idea, but we need guardrails, we need protections. And so being able to utilize something like this that's for our community, where we see our community in it, was the goal. And when we pulled together a team, and Irene and Jenny and others before that, to really investigate with the community what are our disproportionate issues. When you look at these documents, when you look at these top line issues, where do we fall in? We know that everyone cares, everyone in the industry cares about the climate crisis at a 10,000 foot level, but how do we really drill down on our ground level issues that we care about? And so it's been a source of immense pride to be able to have been the organization that put out the first version, and even bigger that it's sustained, the interest has grown, the support has grown to come out with a second version, English and Spanish, expanded with stories and examples. It's just such an impressive product. So thank you for being here.
Just a comment, it truly is a blueprint. I feel last year I was with a different organization, and I remember bringing back the framework and saying, okay, we're all gonna read this because this is what we've been asking for and needing in our organization. And it's really truly helped shape our work in the past, and I'm really excited to be with the team to be able to help with the updates. So the impact has been amazing, and really excited to see the second one. So for my second question, we're gonna talk more about impact. Jenny, what's been the impact since its launch?
Hi everyone, Jenny Hernandez. I am the Latino Climate Framework Program Manager. I haven't met a lot of you yet, so it's very nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. It's good to see familiar faces from Puerto Rico, our national summit. So thank you for being here. And yeah, so talking about impact, a lot of you know that this is our second rollout of this framework. And so since the first rollout we started with 80 endorsers, 80 organizations who endorsed the framework. And it's now been up to 1,300 people who have been endorsing after the second launch. And so that's really impressive. But beyond numbers, I think Mark spoke to this a little bit too, is just the impact that it's had for nuestra gente, right? To see ourselves reflected in a framework. If you were here last year at the fly-in, in this exact same room, the team created a video of migrant farm workers and their experience in extreme heat. And I don't know about you, but that is very relatable. I know people who know people, or maybe our parents or our grandparents were farm workers, right? And so being able to have a framework that reflects so personally the challenges or the experiences that our comunidad has is really impactful, right? Like, this report is by the people, for the people of nuestra gente, right? Like, we see ourselves reflected in this, especially in this second update. I saw my parents reflected a lot in it because we've expanded the worker section in terms of industries that are predominantly Latino-led, right? And so being able to create protections and advocate for those protections for the people that we love and that we're connected to, I think is really what is critical to the LCJF. And if you haven't read through it, skim through it, grab a copy, but also visit with me to look at the new website and to hear the case studies that are in there, and endorse the framework, endorse the framework so that you feel, you can just feel empowered to be able to use this throughout your advocacy work in your organizations. I think the example Meisei gave was amazing. Some of us maybe aren't lucky to work in an industry or an organization that is Latino-led, but if you have something that you can point to, to secure our wins, that's really impactful and powerful for our community.
Look at the, if you have a copy, look at the last page. Look at the coalition that helped put this together, the inaugural partners, the collaborators, the reviewers, the board members. I mean, this takes a village. And this is so impressive about how the team was able to put this together, so. Yes.
Now, as you mentioned, this is the second edition, so we would love to hear a little bit about what that rationale is for the updates. Why are we continuing to have this as a living document? And this question is for both.
Yeah, basically it's because things change. Both our needs and what the community is reacting to, we are going to be seeing massive hurricanes that are fronted by tornadoes that are, we're going to be seeing things we haven't seen before, and we're going to be needing to address them. So I think having updates and being able to let our elected and appointed officials know that they need to react to what our community needs now. Not what we needed 5 years ago, not even what we needed 1 year ago, but what we need now. And being able to have the latest data, it's vital to be able to prove what you're saying. Oftentimes, especially when people disagree with you, they're going to use, what's the proof? And this has data in it. This has statistics. This has numbers in it, as well as stories, because when you meet with electeds, you also want to tell a story. You want them to feel what you're saying. So I think being able to update this, being able to continually address the new issues that come up, and being able to take this to someone and say, okay, if I hand this to an elected and appointed, that you've got the 25 through 28 version. This is the latest version. It's going to carry you. Because oftentimes, I know when I was a staffer, you would see something, and if it had 2023 in it, I'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to have to find the newer version. And it would be someone else's materials that I'd go to, because it had a newer date, more updated. So the updated information is important to move elected and appointeds and to address what our current issues are.
Yeah, and just to add to that same point is, we launched this in 2022, and if you all can remember 2022 and looking at it now, like, a lot has changed, right? Especially with the IRA and the IIJA, like, those things are rolling out, right? Like, at least I'm from New Mexico, in my state, they're rolling out the IRA program. I've gone to meetings with that, and a lot has changed from what they promised initially, right? And so this is also about keeping accountability. Like, we need to know what has moved the needle since some of these things have been rolled out. And GreenLatinos has also done an analysis on the IIJA. Shout out to Pedro and Maritza, who's not here. But that's what it kind of does, right? It tracks that. And so that's why this is so important, because it's evolving and it's living. And to Mark's point, it also needs to reflect the needs of our communities, right? And those change. Things happen, new needs are needed, others are met. And so the perfect example that I want to give is that in the first edition, we had our Puerto Rico partners come to us and say, hey, this isn't really reflective of what's happening on the ground with our communities, and we want that changed. And I was like, oh shit, like, okay, great, like, let's do it. Let's come together and write something. And there was about 6 different organizations who put in a lot of work, and me harassing them and going back and forth to make sure that what was happening on the ground got translated into this report. And there are a lot of issues with Puerto Rico just because they're a territory, and so they have a lot of systemic rooted issues that go beyond this framework, but the priorities of the things that they were focusing on were definitely able to be reflected into this report. And so that's what's really exciting about this. Again, it's for the people, by the people, and so it is reflective of what's happening on the ground, and that's why it needs to be continuously updated. And I will say that some of these sections too, We didn't want to create a 200-page report, but some of these sections do need also a deeper dive, right? I know that a lot of people in this room too are like, for example, working on plastics, and that is a thing on its own. And so, again, just being able to summarize some of that into this as it changes is really important, and that's why, we have done updates of different versions.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a piece that I absolutely love about the framework, because we know the realities of the world, things change a lot. And sometimes it's discouraging to see documents that are set in stone, like this is it. So it's really great to see these updates, as you guys have mentioned, because there's a lot of changes happening. And one of those changes that we're anticipating coming up is with it being an election year. So Mark, you can share with us, why is the LCJF so important this year, being the election year?
It's vital that we are one of the stronger voices when it comes to being able to influence what a new administration does. Hopefully the election will go well. Hopefully in terms of what our priorities are and what our needs are and who reflects that in elected office. We are SC3, so that's as far as I will go, but we know what our needs are and we know who represents that. We also know that sometimes neither party represents our needs, and sometimes both fail, oftentimes. And that what that means is that we have to go above and beyond politics and make sure that we're reaching business, we're reaching the arts, we're reaching culture, we're reaching all areas to be able to influence how the comunidad changes, the whole reality of what can be done and what's expected can be done needs to change. So number one, I really want to emphasize and talk about the first 100 days. If you take a look at this one pager, this is the plan for Latino climate justice in the first 100 days, hopefully of a positive administration. Taking a look at that and saying, all right, these are the things we expect to happen. This is not pie in the sky. This is not theoretical. It's not philosophical. It is, we want to see you do these 11 things in the first 100 days, and it's a direct ask. The new administration gets many of these from different sources, from different issue areas, and it is a battle to get on the top of their priority lists. I know it was a battle with President Biden to get to the point where he would put all his chips behind the IRA and really make the huge effort it took to be able to get that across the finish line. It was a momentous project and a momentous feat, but the only reason he did it is because enough of us were pains in the asses, that we were up in there saying, no, you can't sit down, stand up, get to work, do this, follow up, be aggressive. Closed mouths don't get fed. And so for us to be able to take a document like this, the first 100 days, a document like this, and use your voice. Vote. Make sure you vote, and make sure that when you have something like this to carry with you when you're walking, hopefully you'll choose to walk a precinct or two and get out there in some of the states that are most in need, because we can't take anything for granted. No, we have the power of policy information and data with you so that you can convince people, yeah, you do need to vote. You do need to, this is an important election, and the differences between what could happen in this election are massive. So, so taking these guides, using your voice, using your vote, and then getting up in front of new administrations as they're creating themselves, right? After this election, instantly there'll be a new incoming presidential, and there'll be a lot of different advisors and a lot of different advisory boards and councils, transition teams. If we're not heard, then other people are. If our items don't get to the front of the line, then someone else's does. If we're not at the table, then we're on the menu. And so we really need to be able to have this as your power behind you, but your voice is what really carries the day, and that's what makes things happen.
I don't know if Meisei was going to ask me this, but was going to talk a little bit about what are the major differences?
Yes, let's zoom in. So I've seen a lot of you opening it up and reading some of the framework as we've been speaking. Who here has actually read the first one? If I can do that. Okay, this is great to see. So Jenny, if you can let us know what are some of those main differences between it?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a cheat sheet version so you don't have to read both. Just kidding, please read both. They're very helpful. So the major differences between the first and the second LCJF, as we talked about, a lot of things have changed. The first thing that really sticks out that you'll be able to tell the difference if you were looking at these side by side is that there are a lot of new topics added. We've created a whole section on false solutions. And I'm sure as a lot of you have been hearing things about hydrogen, about carbon capture. And so those are false solutions that are, one, perpetuating our dependency on fossil fuels, and two, pushing us further away from being able to meet our climate goals, right? And so we really want to call attention to those and say, if these technologies are being implemented or researched or etc., these are the things that you need to look out for when you're thinking about these. And we have a section on climate disinformation. Yesterday, I'm sure many of you attended the briefing on climate disinformation, which was really great. And that also lives in this framework now too. And then we have a section on urban greening. Can you raise your hand if you're an urban Baez recipient that is here today? Yeah, congratulations. So as you know, GreenLatinos is expanding their work in urban greening, and so we really wanted to fortify that and make sure that it lived in here. So that is also reflected in there. And then one of the components that we're really excited about is the case studies, as Mark mentioned, to have concrete examples of how other people are implementing the LCJF is really important. But also so you can feel inspired, right? I think a lot of the climate crisis in general can be really overwhelming, and sometimes people have a hard time contextualizing the solutions and how to put them into place. And so this really serves as a great example to point to a city that is doing the work and being innovative and creating solutions that are working really well for our communities. And so we're really excited about the case studies. And as I mentioned, we have an entirely rewritten section of Puerto Rico that has been added into this. And then last but not least, visually, what you'll notice is that there are more visual images included to help break up the heavy text. So we've translated all the statistics into infographics to just be easier on your eye and easier to read, but also be able to point to those statistics really quickly. And then, of course, our work has evolved at GreenLatinos too, and so a lot of our federal programs, their work has kind of evolved and changed, and so some of the work that they're doing has also been included in the framework. And so yeah, if you haven't checked it out, please grab a copy before you leave, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your elected officials. What our hopes and dreams are for this report is to also make it more localized, right? We are at a pivotal time where a lot of local governments are making plans from the money that they've received, and it is crucial that they hear our voices in that. I come from local government, and we needed a GreenLatinos. You know, we were desperately looking for how to make sure that we were being inclusive and equitable in the things that we were working on, and we didn't have a GreenLatinos. And like Mark said, if you're not there, what's gonna happen, right? And so thinking about just how we can also use this on a localized level, on a state level, to influence our elected officials as well.
Yeah, right. And also make sure, you can find it online as well. It's at lcjf.greenlatinos.org. So if you need to share it with elected officials or your orgs back home, it's a great way to share it as well. We have some copies out in the back. I'd like to open it up now for the audience for some questions. So if anyone has any questions.
So my question is, since I'm a college student, I'm 21 years old, and I've been doing advocacy work for a year now. And my question is, if maybe in the near future or at some point, are y'all planning to create chapters in college? Just because, like, as y'all said, like, the younger folks are the future, and honestly, I believe we can all agree that, like, the young audience are what make the changes faster, and they can learn faster about it. So I was wondering if at some point y'all are planning to open up chapters in college all around the states. And so yeah, that's my question.
That's a good question. You know, you're pushing an issue that of organizing that needs to be done. A lot of our work rests on the theory of how can we be a support mechanism for the work that's already being done. How can we support the frontline groups that are already doing the work? Not replace but you know, get them funding, help them get seats to the table, help them with advocacy. And so when it comes to organizing, our main way that we've been doing it is through the state programs that we've been opening in Colorado and Texas and Illinois and California and New Mexico. And being able to start with a state program, I think I would lean into my state programs to say, hey, what's the best way to work with college students? And they may, in some states, say it would be to have chapters, college chapters. It would be to work with Mecha. It would be in some other state. In some other state it would be, let's partner with someone else, the Latino fraternities or sororities. And so I want it to be one in which we're working with the entities that are already, and supporting the entities that are already there, and supporting them to be able to maybe work with us to focus on this issue with their membership. I don't want to recreate the wheel, but I do know that our power of convening, our power of supporting each other is vital to be able to uplift everyone. And if college students, if Latino, Latina, Latinx college students who are into conservation and the environment aren't feeling a home when in college, aren't feeling like their membership in these college green is not fitting them, then I want to be there to support an alternative convening mechanism. So let's have those conversations, and let's push our state leads to start moving into that area.
I got another question. My second question is, what would you say about people that feel like they're losing hope? Because I know in Brownsville, Texas is filled with 95.50% of Hispanic slash Latinos. And due to what's happening with SpaceX, a lot of air pollution, and not only SpaceX, but also the LNG company with the construction, so many businesses are going out of business because of the LNG constructions that they started doing without a permit, and SpaceX dumping their waste into the ocean, causing air pollution. What would you say to the folks that are feeling like they're losing hope because they feel like they don't have a voice to say because they're Latinos?
So many of our historical victories have been won on the verge of a loss, a massive loss. Cesar Chavez and the farm workers, they have many of their victories and the hardest fought stuff that they did, including the hunger strikes and the marches, were because their backs were against the wall, because they had no alternative. They had everyone against them, and the state was against them, the feds were against them, the farm owners were against them, and it was 99-1 shot. And they took that shot and they took it together. Civil rights, women's right to vote, abolishment of slavery. It was the darkest moment when the backs were against the wall, and that's no different for our community. Our community, the comadres, when they've had enough, fuck. They've had enough. And you know it. It's like, when my partner is like, okay, that's it. And so when the community gets together and says, we've had enough, and pulls together, people should be trembling. But we need to get to that point where we're like, all right, this is enough for my kids. This is enough for the future. My community has suffered enough. We've been targeted. We've been an environmental injustice zone. But it's the communication to those leaders to say, with a plan and a goal, saying, here are the 3 things we want. Here are our demands. Let's organize around those demands. Let's stand up, and let's honor our ancestors. Let's honor them and say, okay, I may feel like things are tough, but look at what they went through. Look at what they did. Out of nothing, they immigrated. With nothing in their pockets. They worked 3 jobs. With nothing, they pulled together what they needed to pull together to support the community, to support their family. And now they're shining down on us, and they're not saying, all right, you got it easy. We've made it. Get on your phone, get on the YouTube, do that. They're saying, Dale, it's your turn. So it's our turn. Make them proud. We can do this. It's dark, but that's when we step in, when we say no mas. So this is our moment. Let the moment feed you.
So, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions.
Jackie Nunez, proud board member of GreenLatinos and founder of Last Plastic Straw, and the senior engagement manager for Plastic Pollution Coalition. Answer to your question about student-led organizations, Student PERGS is very active on campuses, and you could do your own GreenLatinos version of Student PERG, and you get a lot of training, and they're a great group, so I would look into that. Their home offices are here in DC, so I recommend that. The other thing I just wanted to say, I just want to give a plug because Jane's going to be at our webinar on October 23rd speaking about the GreenLatinos action plan for the first 100 days. So it's, I think it's October 23rd, I think around 5. You can get on plasticpollutioncoalition.org to sign up. And even if you can't make the time, you get a recording. And so you'll see Jenny talk about our initiative here. So.
All right.
Hello everyone. just want to say I have not taken the time to read through this handbook, but it looks amazing, and I want to congratulate you because I know of the undertaking that it is. I'm really looking forward to reading it in depth on my way back home. But as I'm like hearing about it and I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if there's also a plan to come up with a handbook that's friendly for students and like really young Latinos. And so like the way that my mind works is, how can I present this to students in a really friendly way? And so I'm envisioning like a shorter handbook that's friendlier, more graphics, but then also you can include something like a template that they can use to write a letter to their congressperson or their alderman or something like that, and really like start getting them like civically engaged. I would be more than willing to help out with that, to help facilitate that, or just like provide my 2 cents. But I wonder if like there's a plan for that already. And then I guess my second question to that is like, I know that it goes until 2028, but I imagine that the planning process for the next handbook has to start soon, if it hasn't started already. And so I wonder if like it could be reworked in such a way that part of it serves as a teacher resource, and then the other manual serves as like the appendix that students can use and take home. I'm envisioning like stories that are super relatable to students so that they can see themselves in other parts of the country and realize that there are young advocates all over the place that are making splashes, and just because they feel like there's no solution or no hope in their neighborhood, like they don't have to stand there with their hands tied behind their back, like they have a voice too, and a resource like that would only help to elevate it.
Great question. What was your name?
Brian.
Brian. I think Brian just volunteered himself to be with the coalition. No, Brian, that's a really great question. And so, just a little bit of background context, the coalition, these are exactly the discussions we have. Like, I go to the LCJF coalition and say, what needs to happen? How can we make that happen? How can we make this more relevant? And so we'd love to connect with you afterward to definitely get you plugged, because that's a fantastic idea. Our next steps for this was definitely to go into strategic planning mode. To one, think about the next framework update, but to also think about what that looks like, right? Do we want to do an every 2 years is a lot of work for us to be able to continue doing this. And so maybe we do every 4 years, and every 2 years it's a smaller plan or a more in-depth plan, or even an outlined resource of this. The other component that we have thought about a lot too is attaching, I don't want to say training, but attaching some kind of resource to this to kind of explain the background context to advocacy, right? Like, do a lot of you know how to submit comments in your local council meetings? Right? And a lot of this gets done on a local level, right? And so, again, there are opportunities at the local level where a lot of these cities need this. They need this, they're looking for this. And so even some kind of being able to create guides that say like, hey, this is how you get involved at the local level, and this is how you could use this toolkit to help you move that forward. And so we are definitely thinking about it. We definitely want to have a strategic planning session on kind of what that looks like and next steps. And I will also say we do want to move into implementation too, right? We want to support, on the next panel you're going to hear from people on the ground who are putting this into work. And so we want to support the people who are implementing the LCJF as well. And so there's opportunity there too, to get it more localized, like you're saying, or translated in a way that can be for a broader range of audiences and whatever entry level point they're at in terms of just the climate crisis in general. So, Brian, appreciate that question, and definitely let's connect, because I think you just volunteered yourself.
Absolutely, sounds good, thank you.
And it looks like we do have some time for more questions, so if anyone has another question, let's go here.
I don't know if I need the mic or not. I don't, yeah, no, I get it. Catalina Gonzalez, I just want to, I agree with the first two comments, but I just really want to commend Jenny and everyone at GreenLatinos who was involved in packaging this. I was reading through it and I want to give this to my family members who don't follow these issues closely, and I also want to give it to like state, local, federal decision makers who do have power, and I think these also reflect like those high level priorities for our community. So I just want to like commend you, Jenny, and everyone at GreenLatinos, because I think you did a really good job of like speaking to a big audience of like, I think this is appropriate even for like high school students, you know, to just give them a background, get them started. So yeah, I think just really speaking to a lot of people who are getting started, who have power, so kudos.
Thank you. On top of that, I do want to acknowledge that Jenny has really given her blood, sweat, and tears to get this across the finish line. This is a monumental task, and being able to, no matter how many hands you have on deck, sometimes it makes it even harder. Trying to keep this coalition together, trying to work with these collaborators, working with our staff, making sure everyone is heard has been pretty incredible. The process was admirable. The product is pretty amazing. And so I want to give one more time to Jenny. Come on.
Oh, question right here.
It's not really a question, it's a comment. I'm from Chicago and I'm with the organization with this panel. But anyway, I feel real inspired by having been here by everyone because you represent gems related to moving forward. You guys are all spectacular in what we're doing. And I give compliments to GreenLatinos because everything is virtual mostly nowadays, webinar, this and that. But it's special being together with humans, like that technical stuff. It's kind of, it gets the job done on different levels, but that connection to humans, like, it seems like we have lost something. I don't know, just hard to explain it. Like moving 10 years back, you know, we weren't always on our phones, looking at our phones and stuff. We had to connect with people because there were no phones. So I want to say thank you, the Latinos, for having this opportunity to unite us all because we all share this as far as helping our children because, of course, they're going to inherit this earth that we're leaving behind. We cannot stay by the sidelines and just let things happen. That's why we're in it, to make a difference. Anyway, thank you, we Latinos, for giving us this opportunity to connect with each other, as humans, as people, something that will never be lost and always be remembered. Thank you.
I got another question. So, I know this was an opportunity for many of us. I mean, I know for those that applied for the scholarship, we worked hard on the essays, we worked hard on doing the things, the advocacy work that we do in our hometown and sometimes the whole state. And I was wondering, will there be any more opportunities that we can apply to? Because for me, I always saw myself working with local advocacy work, but coming here, it opened up my eyes more, and it makes me, as much as I love my hometown and as much as I love being in Brownsville, helping Brownsville and all, I feel like I can do more work and I can help more by doing federal advocacy work. So I was wondering if there's going to be more opportunities for us to do federal advocacy work here with y'all, with Green Latinos, and yeah.
Absolutely. So I'd love for our program leads, our program teams, to stand up and introduce themselves. We'll start with Irene and your area. And so if you're interested in that subject matter, our federal program lead, you want to join her team.
Yeah, hi. I know you, Gladly. I got to spend some good time with you over the last couple of days and admire your advocacy so much. And you're 21. I almost fell off my chair when you said that. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm 21, but so yeah, I'm Irene. I'm the Climate Justice and Clean Air Program Director, and we have lots of opportunities. As an organization, we have our annual DC Hispanic Heritage Month, so we'll have that again next year. We have our summits, which are another great opportunity to come together and connect. But yeah, and then you can also join online the program and get involved with tons of opportunities if you sign up for the listserv. And yeah, and then I can talk to you more offline, but thank you.
Val, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Val Schul, Water Equity and Ocean Program Director, and our program focuses on accessing clean, affordable drinking water, ensuring that Latino communities get their water infrastructure up to date, as oftentimes Latinos tend to have outdated infrastructure or water quality violations. We also work on ensuring that Latinos have access to what I call blue spaces and making sure that they have the ability to go recreate and have fun in, whether it's the coastlines or, going out fishing. And then we also are building out in terms of, reducing plastic pollution and how it impacts our bodies of water. So if you're interested in that, similar to what Irene was saying, we have webinars, we have calls to action in which we're writing letters and submitting comments at the federal level. And one of the things that GreenLatinos does is that we do provide a template for you to start off with, and then you can edit that. And then through the form that we send, it then gets sent out to who needs to see it. So it's really amazing to be able to have that part of the work already done, and then you fill in what the specific points of how it relates to your community, your life, and then, we send it forward. So we want to try to make this as accessible as possible.
Pedro, you want to talk about the public lands team?
Absolutely, Mark. I don't know. Hey everybody, sorry. My name is Pedro Hernandez. I'm the public lands advocate here with Green Latinos, and I'll say I'm on the public lands team, but what that really means is we're the planet defense team, we're the nature defense team, and we're the community defense team. We want to make sure that every community has access to a resilient ecosystem. So no matter what neighborhood, no matter what barrio you're part of the ecosystem, and we view every community, every environmental injustice as part of the larger dynamic and interwoven threads of nature. And so what we do is defend public lands, right? We make sure that the federal government is actually funded to do the job. We make sure that the federal government is moving their resources, moving their political power to defend and expand natural areas, whether it's a national wildlife refuge, whether it's monument in the San Gabriel's. What's up, San Gabriel's fans? We view public lands as urban greening parks as well too, right? Because like in a lot of ways, the parks in your community is your public space. That is where you find your refuge, right? But we also view public lands insofar as like important cultural sites, right? Whether it's like, Chicano Park in San Diego, whether it's the Blackwell School in Marfa, Texas, right? We know that cultural sites and historical sites, like our communities have always been part of the Americas. And due to the erasure and genocide that we've been facing, not only our people, but the sites that we've occupied are also being dismantled and attacked. So we're working to make sure that we're not trading off our care for the environment with our cultural identity. And so if you're interested in kind of finding what the sweet spot is and how Green Latinos is actually carving out a strong niche in the broader environmental and conservation sector, please hit us up. We have in the Public Lands and Ocean Colectivo, which is a group of intersectional activists. We have our listserv. We have encuentros, or like free you know, resources. So like, you want to learn this? You don't have to go to college, right? Like we can give you access to, we can give you access to the people on the front lines doing the dopest stuff, right? And again, like if you just want to learn more about like what it takes to work with an agency or what it takes to actually advocate, or if you need connections, right, with these offices, like hit us up. I have cards. You can find us on our email, on our website. But let's defend nature together, everybody.
And our last federal policy program team, I don't think Carmen is here, so it is sustainable communities, and that is clean energy, community energy, clean renewable energy, and clean transportation, and clean communities, and how we can work on that together. And like was mentioned, each of these areas has our members' participation in the collectivos. So if you go online, join, first thing, sign up for our listserv, join the membership. There's all levels of membership. If you can't pay, join anyways. And then join a collectivo and get involved. It is a constant, this is what's happening federally. This is what's going on in the States. Here's some sign-on opportunities. Here's some letters to the editor, whatever it is, the opportunity, but participating in that would be fantastic.
All right, before we move on to our next panel, I just want to give a final round of applause for Jenny and Mora. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Juan to introduce our next panel. We're going to be talking more about on the ground how the framework has been creating real impact.
Great, thank you. So we do have a 10-minute break before the next panel, so take advantage of the snacks that are